changes?
None, I need a motion that we approve the agenda.
Make a motion.
Next on the agenda, vote, yeah, all, excuse me, all in favor? Board suggestion?
Just a couple of things I wanted to share with you. Number one, we had a visit from our workers' compensation insurance folks today, and we're part of a collective. And apparently we had a good year and stayed under some threshold, so they brought us a $16,000 check today. They said, don't go cash it. So it comes off our premium. So, which is not bad. It's like 10% of our premium that we pay for our workers' compensation insurance. So, we told them we would celebrate them. We appreciate them. What's the company's name, Mike? I'm sorry, I didn't write it.
Workers' Compensation Trust, Georgia Workers' Compensation Trust.
There we go. So they can't pay us a visit today, so I'm glad to have that. Told them to let you know. I shared some information about Eton Elementary. There at the front, when you go in, they've got that column sign, kind of facade out there, where some of the split-faced block out there is coming apart. Hunter sent y'all some pictures of it, especially right there as you walk in. And so we went up on Friday, took a look at it. We tossed around a couple ideas about what might be able to do. But Chris said, look, he said, I know a guy. So he was going to talk to the people he needed to talk to, and he told me he got to talk to them. So I'll let him give you a quick update, and we may be in a little better shape than we thought, but just to make you aware.
So I talked with Dan Trowell over at Leonard Brothers, and I'll know something more in probably a week or so, maybe a week and a half. But we came up with a few options that we have determined are not going to be quite as expensive as what we had initially thought. So I'm not going to let a cat out of a bag before I know exactly what we're talking about, but give us a week or so, week and a half, and let us put some stuff together. And then if it's more than, if it's not what we think, then we'll come back and talk. But I think overall it will not be that expensive to fix.
But structurally, he thought we were pretty sound on the inside. It was just some things on the outside, correct?
We will not know that until we start taking that apart, but that's what the thought is. It's not a structural issue, it's a masonry issue.
Two things I had. Y'all have any questions about anything? Anything y'all need to discuss?
You got it, Jim?
Yes, we'll have our meeting tomorrow. We'll get some more information about the gym as we go. We did I think somebody's trying to get in out there. I'm sorry. I took our Villa group, and I'll talk about that in a minute, over there on Friday. We looked around. They're still pumping right along. They put down the frames for the suspension of the basketball goals. The goals aren't up, but that stuff is there. The floor was supposed to go in this week. I'd be surprised based on what I saw
It'll be here
Friday.
tomorrow.
Yeah, so it's coming closer, and they'll start getting that done, but it's looking good. Once they put that drop ceiling kind of stuff in, they haven't got tiles in, but once they put that, you really start to get a sense of what it's gonna look like, because before it's just kind of cavernous and open, but they're starting to paint, a lot of paint going up, got the right color green?
Yes.
So, Andrew and Blake have been working with their designers and whatnot, trying to figure out what's going everywhere, and so we'll have a little more tomorrow. But going good, that May, sorry, we're 5 months ahead of schedule if they hit May, and we'll see if they get going a little faster.
Well, speaking of the gym and the sign, is there any plans to replace the letters on the Murray County School sign out here?
Eventually, we're gonna have a new sign that goes in the front.
Yeah.
From a temporary fix, I think, Andrew, they've been trying to put those letters back up, but they're a little
Yeah,
tough to
it's
deal
a
with,
little
so.
difficult to do. In our meetings with the architect and whatnot, we're talking about saving some bricks so that we can make the sign ultimately a new one, but there wasn't a point to put it up in that area, so I was looking at potentially putting one on the side, you know, since it's on the corner there. And just with the construction, it's hard to do.
I'm just wondering if there's anything we can do, like to maybe, even though they replace the letters, to do something else, take the letters completely off, or maybe do something else in the time being, just so it doesn't look like.
Right.
You also have, are the letters still there? I know they kept coming off.
Right, well, there's one that's there, and then we put that back up, and now one's missing. So it goes back and forth. We've gotten some last year, and it keeps going like that. But, if I put any money to it, that's why I've been waiting. It's been a priority, but I wanted to, if I invested any money to have, put it for the other sign. But yeah, I'm open to looking for sure, and, cause I don't like it.
Yeah.
Any further board discussion?
I do have a question. I was wondering, and this may or may not be true, so are we not busing pre-K kids anymore? Or going forward?
We did not bus pre-K kids last year or this year.
Okay,
The shuttle buses are still running, so the parents have the option to drop off at the
Their
home schools
schools.
and then catch the shuttle. Not how many are coming on the shuttle, Amanda, you told me.
There's anywhere from 12 to 15, like on at Spring Place in Woodlawn, and then like 8 at the other school.
so next year, if things change, they'll just go to their home
It would just
schools?
be driving, as of what we talked about now, it's just driving to their home school there instead of having to drive down here, because most of them are driving here already, correct?
Are you saying they can't ride the bus from their home to the school?
They have not been the
No,
last
yeah,
2
they haven't
years.
done that. But I was just wondering, like, if they have a kid, say, a family has first grade or second grade to ride the bus, the pre-K can't ride the bus,
That's the way it's been last year
Okay.
and this year.
and then that's how it's gonna go forward.
That's what we're gonna talk about. Randy will tell you, the state guidelines and best practice says that a 4-year-old should not be on, this non-school age, should not be on the bus unless we have straps on them. If you put straps on buses, then you get into who's gonna unstrap them if something were to happen. So you have pre-K buses designed with that, but that also puts you into liability or whatnot. So we've had discussions back and forth about guidelines and best practice versus law over the last couple of years, because sometimes they don't always match up. But last year, we did not transport pre-K kids on the bus. This year, we have not, and we have not had a discussion about it next year, especially since it'll be closer at their house. But I'm sure those are discussions that'll continue to go.
Anything else? All right, next on the agenda, quality workforce. First reading of the GBN revision.
Yes. Mike?
As you may know, we are what's termed a strategic waiver system. There are 3 types of systems in the state of Georgia. One of them is a charter system, which waives all of the Title 20, which is the part of the Georgia code that deals with education. And then there's a traditional system which waives none of Title 20. And then there's a strategic waiver system, which the majority of systems in the state of Georgia are. And that allows the district to pick and choose which items of Title 20 that they want to waive, whether it's class size, teacher compensation, what it might be. We have, as of this past spring, when we updated our strategic waiver, we decided to waive a part of the Fair Dismissal Act. Not dealing with teachers that are under contract from year to year, but dealing with requirement that we necessarily bring a teacher back year to year, which is called tenure. Although tenure's not mentioned in the code. So our board policy was not consistent with that. So this particular modification of the policy removes the tenure provision from our board policy to be consistent with our strategic plan. Have any questions?
This will be our first reading, we'll look at it, and we'll look at it again next month as well.
All right, next on the agenda is executive session. Motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Linda. Tony. All in favor? motion we adjourn.
Make a motion.
All in favor? All right, we're adjourned.
Give us a second to rearrange and we'll be ready to celebrate some.
Yeah, sorry, that's
I'm Jeannie Locke. I do curriculum for middle and high school, and this is definitely one of the favorite parts of my job. So, without further ado, the Reach Georgia Scholarships, need-based scholarship that starts in 8th grade. So this year, we interviewed a record 21 kids that qualified at both high schools. It's the most we've ever interviewed. And we had the really difficult job of narrowing that down to 7. So that was, we got some really good kids in Murray County. So these scholars get this needs-based scholarship. It begins in 8th grade. They'll be paired with a mentor and a high school academic coach. They have to maintain good grades, a 2.5 GPA, good behavior, good attendance in middle and high school. And when they complete this program and graduate, they get a $10,000 scholarship that can be used basically anywhere in Georgia. Anywhere it's Hope eligible, public, private, TC, SG, USG, it's pretty awesome. And many of the colleges then match or double match it. And this is in addition to any other grant or scholarship they receive. So it's a really big deal. It's kind of like hitting the scholarship lottery and hitting it early. So all 180 districts in Georgia participate in this. Our coordinator's Fenna Petty, who I think is trying to make it back for the cake cutting from Dade County. And it is matched by a lot of generous donors, which will be on the back page of the program. So welcome everyone. Thank you guys who are here to support these kids and this awesome thing that they're getting. And I'm going to introduce the counselors and let them talk to you about the kids. Because I only got to interview one group, but I know that there's some really special, specific things that these counselors want to say. So I'm going to start with Glad Middle School, Ms. Kelly Swanson. You want to come up and talk about the kids. And then when she finishes, students, if you will have a seat up here to get ready for your signing and photo ops.
The REACH Scholarship application process is not an easy task. From the paperwork to the interviews and patiently waiting to hear from who the recipients are is a big step for 8th graders. All the students who go through this process deserve praise for completion. A special congratulations to the following 3 students who are recipients at Glad Middle School. Verity couldn't be here, she's under the weather, but I'm going to read what her teacher said. Taggett said he was not expecting Verity. She walked through the door, she's perky, so confident, with an impeccable fashion sense. Verity didn't just come into my room, she made a statement. I continue to look forward to what the future of her education pathway brings her. Ms. Rosser said Verity is a very independent person. She knows her strengths and her weaknesses and cares about others. Please never change who you are. Mr. Cantrell added, Verity is unapologetically Verity. This may not sound like a huge deal, but in middle school, being yourself may be one of the hardest things to do. She is a very hardworking young lady who continually keeps a smile on everyone's face. Mr. Swillen added, Verity is driven and hardworking, and there's no doubt she will accomplish incredible things. Starla Haley. Mr. Tackett said, I've been very impressed with Starla's confidence since she was in my 7th and 8th grade ELA classes. Starla is one of those students who truly cares about her classroom performance and the quality of her work. Starla is also one of the best writers I've had in my classes in quite some time. I'm very confident that success will follow her through her high school and college years. Starla is a very hardworking and motivated student. This is just the beginning of her accomplishments from this roster. Mr. Cantrell said, Starla is a great student, but even better kid. She has enough self-confidence to answer questions in class, and more importantly, ask them as well. She is also a kid who prefers to not be in the spotlight, so I know today is awkward for her, but she is well deserving of this honor. Mr. Schilling added, Starla is bright, dedicated, and persistent. She has the talent and determination to achieve anything she sets her mind to. Next is Jesus Lopez. Mr. Schilling said he is curious, hardworking, and respectful. He shows kindness to everyone he meets, and he is a joy to have in class each day. Ms. Sarah Jones added, Jesus has the hardest working ethic. Math may not come easy for him, but he makes up for it with hard work. Dr. Butler said, Jesus is a strong leader among his peers. He maintains excellent grades and extends help to his classmates. He portrays a quiet confidence. And Mr. Swilling added, Jesus is a hard worker who is determined and focused every day. I expect great things from him. It is evident from all of the teachers' comments and our daily observations that these students are deserving as representatives of Glide Middle School as our Reach Scholar recipients. Congratulations.
Nobody wants to be hurt.
I know.
Yeah. Come on, Glenn, kiddos. Go ahead. You get to go to the secret room and sit in special seats. We also, I don't know if she mentioned, we have another student from Gladden who got the award, and she has the flu. Did you read about her?
Yes.
Okay, I was thinking that you did, but that's why she's not with us. So next, I'd like to introduce Bagley Middle's counselor, Kenneth Keesley.
It's an honor to get to speak about the Reach recipients from Bagley Middle School. I'm going to read what your teacher said about you. Leslie is always a respectful and hardworking young lady. She always asks questions and works to the best of her abilities. While she is soft-spoken, she is smart, polite, and works well with others. You can often observe her assisting others, and she is very willing to assist her teachers. It is a pleasure to teach Leslie. Sophie is an excellent student who comes to school every day ready to learn and grow. She shows great effort each day, and she has really shown great progress over the course of the year. She asks questions when she wants to know more about a topic we are covering, and she is always wanting to learn and try her hardest to succeed in the classroom. She's a very great classmate and gets along with everyone and shows care for others. Eric. Eric is an outstanding individual whose dedication, resilience, and passion for learning set him apart. Throughout this school year, he consistently demonstrates a strong work ethic, leadership abilities, and a deep commitment to improving himself. His drive to make a positive impact on those around him reflects his exceptional character. America. America has consistently demonstrated outstanding academic achievement, unwavering dedication, and a strong commitment to personal and community growth. Her remarkable work ethic and passion to excellence have set her apart, making her a deserving recipient of this honor. Beyond academics, America has been an active contributor to her community. Please give a round of applause for our
wanna do a ceremonial one for pictures, and, you know, don't wanna sign the real one when you might be a little nervous. So they have the first of what I think will be mini swag bags in front of them. So if you guys wanna pull those, you should have a shirt out for the high school you're going to. If you wanted to put it on the chair behind you, that'd probably make a good picture. And we're gonna get some pictures of them pretending like they're signing. They're really signing a fax cover sheet, and I bet they don't even know what a fax is. No, it's not a musical instrument. I'm also Durisha tonight, so I'm gonna take some pictures of the kiddos by themselves, and then we'll get some other folks in, and then we'll adjourn our portion of it, and there's some refreshments out in the hallway, and you can pick them up and head to the conference room and hang out, or go out another door if you want to, so you don't have to come back through here. But thank y'all. And somebody took, oh, here it is, okay, yay. So let's declare our commitment and sign these forms. Let me get my phone so I can take pictures. Yes. That'll help me remember. Hey, Zeus, if you and Starla want to slide down, since. Yes. Blue reason. I'll take a picture All right, y'all just set up your spot, how you want to pose there.
Parents and family and friends, thank you guys for coming. We'll share these out on social media. You'll be able to see them from there, in addition to the ones you get here. So, thank you so much.
That'll teach you. Y'all ready? All right, smile and say ka-ching. Okay, board members, do y'all want to get behind them? Sure. Small, say we are Murray. We are Murray. Thank you. All right. Yeah.
All right, guys, if you want to get your stuff, bring it down, we'll get y'all standing out here in front together. That's Miss Mary.
You'll need to see me.
You were looking at us.
Little more, it'll be all right. It'll be all right.
Superintendent, get it. All right, parents, don't put your.
Stay right there. You got a lot of shots coming. Like, where do I look at?
Yeah,
Where-
please get it, we won't throw it.
We got time to get that in.
Well, everybody seems fine.
It's not even going yet.
All right, schools, y'all need any while they're set? We're good. Glad you did it back.
I'll share
Good.
with everybody.
All right.
Let's reach into some freezers.
All right, let's give a big round of applause. I think you need to make them go home and count to 10,000 so they realize exactly how big that is.
Don't forget your name tents back there. You get to take those with you. Thank you guys so much, and thank you parents for trusting us with your kids. It was a joy interviewing and selecting these kiddos and having them represent us. So there's some light refreshments here in the hall. Hang out as long as you want, or until somebody turns the lights off.
All right, okay, y'all come get cupcakes first, all right? Get your little tents right here.
You have a copy of the agenda. Are there any changes? If none, I need a motion that we approve the agenda.
Motion. Second.
Tony, all in favor? Approved. Next on the agenda is the pledge and inspiration. Kelly's going to lead that into
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day, God, and we thank you for allowing us to come out tonight, Lord. And I pray for each and every student and principal and teacher, God, that you'll just continue to bless our school year. I pray for our break next week, Lord, that everyone will get a good refreshing break, Lord, and we'll come back and finish up the school year. Lord, I pray that the decisions we make tonight are in the right direction that we need to go, Lord, and just pray for the ones that couldn't be here tonight that are sick. Just be with us and watch over us. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
All right, next on the agenda, 10 items. The minutes, okay, you have a copy of the minutes from last week. Are there any changes that need to be made? If none, I need a motion that we approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Approved. Next on the agenda, public participation, I think it's Mr. Shoemaker. If you please come up here and, make sure you read over the statement real quick.
We want to thank you for signing up and coming tonight. I think you were given a copy. Were you given a copy of what you can and what you can't say? Can't do, okay. We're gonna give, you got the copy of that, and so we'll set the timer for 3 minutes, and we'll let you talk. If you go over a little 3 minutes, that's fine. I mean, we can let it go, but we'll time you at 3 minutes, so you can go ahead and get started.
Okay. I just come to see if I can get my son switched from one school to Woodlawn. I've got some personal issues at the other school, and I'm just trying to get him away from it so I don't have to be around him and have to go around that school. And he'll have his own transportation, and I'll take him and drop him off. I live right next to the school, so we're just trying to see what we can do to get him transferred over to a different school.
It's to Woodlawn?
Yes, from Northwest.
From Northwest to Woodlawn.
And I shared that information you shared with them, so they got it, so it's good.
And that's, do you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Well, someone, either Mike or superintendent will get back with you, because we'll discuss, we don't make a ruling right now, and we'll discuss, and then one of them will reach back out to you and let you know our decision. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah. All right, next on the agenda is the superintendent report.
We'll start off with Dr. Smith. It's financials time. My favorite time of night. Come and share what's been going on down in her department.
So we have closed December. And I've been making a request. We have closed December, so that's what we're gonna look at here tonight, and just a few things. So, the first thing that we always go over are the SPLOST deposits for the month of December. Actually, the SPLOST is for the month of January. So, if you will look at your paper there, you'll see that for January of '25, we had around $647,000 of SPLOST revenue come in. Compare that to January of '24, and that was around $544,000. So there was an increase of a little over $100,000, so that's always good. Compare that to January of '23, that was the anomaly time that we talk about, was around $816,000. In January of '22, which is on a separate SPLOST sheet, was around $548,000. So we're trending, as higher, than we did this time last year. And of course, we're still targeting, around December of this year to have this SPOS maxed out, because we have already reached around 17.3 million of the 25.5 million. So this SPOS is not gonna make it to July of 27. It's gonna probably end sometime this year, either December, at the earliest, maybe January at the latest. And then we'll go on straight into the next SPOS, okay? So that's good news on the SPOS deposits. We want them to trend higher than they did last year. Going right into the financials, these are your financials as of the end of December. And I always wanted the things that I'm trying to do this year is show you the actual amounts of what has been received. So for revenues, we've received around 34 million out of the 76 that we anticipated. So we're around 45% of revenues. You can see that local property taxes are the ones that we look at pretty much the most. We've received around 65% of our property taxes. Another 51% of our QBE. So if you consider that we are, this is 6 months into the fiscal year, you know, it's trending a little bit less than I would hope it would be, but that's okay. It'll catch up. Expenditure wise, again, you're looking at the actual amounts. These are the amounts that we have expensed as of the end of December. So those percentages are around, down at the bottom, around 39%. So that's good, because what that means is we have, based on the month of December, we have a surplus of $4 million, because revenues have come in more than expenses. So we're running into a surplus right now. But beware. That's just what it is for the month of December. So as we've talked about, by the time that you have actually got to see these financials, that we've also had in the whole month of January expenses, including January payroll, okay? So each month, as we tick through here, you'll start seeing that surplus trend down. But for now, that was good news. So what we do next is we take the actual amounts that we have received, and we try to add to that what we project payroll's gonna be for the extra 2 months in July and August. Those are the accruals that we're talking about. And we try to project what our QBE revenue's gonna be. So if you compare this year to last year, you can see that even though we have a surplus, we have a cash around 21 million or so, and assets compared to around 25 million this time last year. So our cash, even though it's come in very well, is still a little bit less than we had gotten this time last year. And then, of course, we have to match up our fund equity. You can see our fund equity with our liabilities down there is around 12 million right now. That's your fund balance, compared to around this time last year, it was around 16 million. But we have open purchase orders of around 59,000 compared to 2 million last year. So that's why you're seeing our revenues are a lot higher, our expenditures are a lot less. We don't have any big purchase orders out there. So that's helped make that surplus that we were talking about. When you compare this time, the revenues with the accruals this year to last year, when you're comparing apples to apples, you see that our revenues down there, I've got them highlighted, we've collected around 56% when you add those additional revenues in there, and it was around 56% this time last year. So that tells me that our numbers are very true, they're not overinflated, they're not underestimated. We're running exactly kind of where we were this time last year. The same is true with the expenditures down here. If you compare this expenditures this year to the expenditures this time last year, it's running right at 50%. So that's where it should be. We're 6 months into the physical year, and we're about 4 months into the school year. So you would think you would be anywhere between 40 to 60%. And that's what you got, you're right at 50. So that is a good place to be. Okay? So when we add that extra payroll to our budget for, and we estimate that brings our surplus down to around 3.7 million for this time of the year, compared to around 3.4 million this time last year. So any questions on the financials? As of the end of December, revenues, expenditures are trending exactly the same as they were this time last year, which means there's not a big overspending, and everything is right where it should be. And we'll just continue to watch that surplus as we go through the rest of the remaining school year. We've still got six more months of expenditures, plus those July and August expenditures that we approve, so we still have a good fair time to go.
I have a question. Is there, I don't know, because I don't do bookkeeping stuff, but is there a reason that we're like, say, December now instead of January?
Sure.
Do you have January ready?
So this is the very first of February.
Right.
So it takes until like February 20th before we actually get January
Close
closed.
out, okay.
So by the time we close out January, the board meeting's already happened. So all we can do is bring it to you the next month,
Okay.
okay? And that is us and school nutrition. That gives time for everybody to close. We're all in it together, so we all have to close the month at sometime that month. And we try to get it done by the 20th. Good question. Any other questions on the financials? I can always tell you the day of the meeting what your actual amount is. I can always run it as of today and see what it is, but it's not gonna vary a whole lot from what you're seeing. Okay. On investments, if you look at January of this year, we collected $32,000 in interest compared to January of last year. We almost doubled what we got last year and getting around $14,000. We've collected $104,000 in interest since July 1, and we've collected $479,000 total since we started the investment. Next month, I hope to tip over $500,000.
All right, it's not right there. Yeah. Right. I need a motion that we approve the financial statement as presented.
Make a motion. Second.
All in favor? Is approved. All right, then next will be the first one.
The only purchase order you have tonight is the one, I think you received it prior, so you had your 14-day notice on that. I think Tim had already sent it to you. So in 2023 or 24, the state of Georgia allocated one bus funding to Murray County. And so Randall has requested that we use that bus allocation to purchase their special needs bus. So they trend higher, of course, for all the equipment that's required on them than a 72 passenger bus. This is a 54 passenger.
It's a type C, it can be 48 or 54, but generally they're in that range.
I didn't hear what you said, Randall. 54 people, 54 kids.
It's classed as a type C, which means it has the shorter wheelbase on it, and they can go up to 54 passengers, but with the wheelchairs on them, we're more like 48.
And we recently lost a bus, and So that is why you're seeing some of that money being allocated towards this bus. So on the purchase order, I've tried to list on there for you that the Department of Ed is giving us $88,110 towards the purchase of any bus, okay? That's all they provide. Then we're using the safety incentive money that's still available, that we can get another $12,000 for, by different features that are on that bus. But we have to go ahead and get the bus now, because that safety incentive money ends, I think, at the end of April. Then we received insurance money on the wreck bus, and believe it or not, it was only around $15,500. It may be another $2,000 deductible amount that they're supposed to be sending us. So that would make it $2,000 more on that one. So what it's actually costing the district for the bus is $30,890, and we're gonna take that out of the excess SPLOST funds that we drew down after the October payment was made on the debt service. So that's the cost. We are purchasing the bus for $146,500, and we're gonna seek reimbursement for everything except $30,800. Okay? And I think it's something that Andrea could attest to that they really need right now. So we'd like to go ahead and get the bus purchased and get all the money reimbursed to us and get it back in the budget for this fiscal year.
We were thinking 6 weeks, Randall, is that about right?
Yeah, from the time the board passes it, we issue the PO, it's about 6 to 10 weeks. So we should make that timeline. I think, Russ, they're prepared to go ahead and send the invoice so that you can get the paperwork file on that.
Yeah. We have to send in the invoice and the check that we have written for it, and, proof of payment and all that, so that we can get the reimbursement back from the state.
So, Randall, you said this bus will hold have 48 seats, right?
Well, it depends on the needs, how many children that will actually hold.
So there'll be some wheelchair accessible?
Oh, yes, ma'am, it holds 3 wheelchairs, and then there's bench seats that are available in there. But some children, you can't put them 3 to a seat, some can only do 1 to a seat. It just depends on their special needs. But the arrangement of the bus, yes, it is typed a 54 passenger bus. But it's not gonna hold that many, no.
Any other questions?
So the money that wasn't spent on the SPOS went into the general fund.
So if you look down there at the bottom, you see where I've got $115,610. That is actually coming from the general fund, and that $115,610 is going to be replaced in revenue over on the general fund. So it's going to wash. So the $30,890 is also coming from the general fund, but it's coming from our SPLOST money.
So what is the balance after we spend this $30,000 that's left over?
I don't know, I can get it for you. I'm talking about it.
We were talking about it anyways, because we were looking at things that we may have to use that excess SPLOST money for, and we've had little things like some lights here and there that we talked about this year. This was an expenditure we were looking at. This is actually less than we had anticipated. We thought this was gonna cost us probably $50,000 or $60,000 out of excess SPLOST, and Randall got a good deal. We get it down to some state money extra to add it in, we get it down to right at 31, because we want to make sure we keep that as healthy as we can in case things come up and we need it. But we're in good shape with it. We're in good shape on that.
Yeah, I don't want to guess. I just don't have teams in it.
Was this in the budget?
The expense of the bus money.
Okay, but it's coming out of SPLOST, which is a good thing.
Yes.
Great, so it really, even though it wasn't, yes,
Yeah.
that's
We're
where
getting
I'm
good
trying to
revenue from the state. It'll show as an overage in the budget, but we'll actually have an overage of revenue from it, so we're good.
Any questions?
Questions?
Just approve the PO.
I need a motion that we approve the PO for the bus.
Second.
Ms. Tony? All in favor? It is approved.
Thank you.
On to the next thing I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna knock these field trips out while you're doing your thing right there. There are 2 field trips there for you to approve. While you're here. The first is a CTAE field trip that came up with our high schools. We've got some kids from North Murray, some teachers from Murray and North Murray going down to, we've got some new pathway things coming up in social studies that we're excited about. Actually gets into like government and intelligence and some things like that. And so we had an opportunity come up last week. It's kind of a sudden one, but the state said, hey, we've got this workshop coming, and kids can come down and get information. So that's what that one is. The drama field trip is the one that you guys approved by poll because we had some stuff that hung up in each tree. So that one you already know about. I shared about it. The second one. The other one is a CTAE trip. It's a handful of kids and some teachers going down and learn about some new pathways.
Any questions on that? All right, I need a motion that we approve the CTAE field trip.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? It is approved.
All right, thank you very much. All right, on to the next. I'm going to make a proposal to you guys tonight. I shared information with you. We've been talking about some things here in the district for the last few months about some organizational things, and I'll explain why it came up, and then I'll talk a little bit about why I'm making this recommendation to you. It involves our pre-K and our 6th grade. So I'm going to recommend tonight that we move our 6th grade classrooms to the middle schools next year and return our pre-K classrooms to our elementary schools next year. Won't affect anything this year. It would start next year. Really 3 reasons why. The first one has to do with our 6th grade students. As we've talked and discussed through all kinds of scenarios and things, we felt like this is what's best for our 6th grade students. It opens up some new opportunities for our students and our teachers, which I'll get into in a little bit. The same thing with our pre-K. We believe this is what's best for our pre-K students. It allows them to begin building relationships. It's one less transition when they go into an elementary school, and there's some added opportunities at the elementary schools that we don't currently have at our early learning center. And the last one's kind of a side effect. It's a positive one. It does allow us, and it's what started it, and I'll get into that in just a minute. It does allow us to capture more state funding for our capital projects. So there are some changes that the state has done to pre-K that this will allow us to take advantage of and maximize the funding we get from the state. So kind of looking back, Murray County Schools reorganized in 08-09. The discussion was almost the reverse of what we're doing now. And it was the creation of the pre-K center from where it had been before. I think it had been in schools. It might have been at Bagley, I think, for a little bit, for 2 years. So we had it in some different spots. And it came down to the ELC. And the reason why is for years, since pre-K has started in schools, when the state looks at a building and they see a pre-K classroom, they consider it to be an empty classroom. That's how they classify it. So in my buildings, I've had pre-K classrooms, and I'll say, I've got 40 classrooms. And the state says, nope, you got 39, because that one doesn't count. And so a lot of systems, because that was the case, if they had buildings that were not in inventory, and we're not counting toward classes anyway, they would move their pre-Ks to those places, because I don't want non-funded classrooms in spaces where I could use them. So that's what happened then. Looking at it also, the enrollment was a lot higher at that time, and there were a lot of mobile classrooms around. Is when I look back and found that information. So this allowed pre-K to come down here, which cleared out room in the elementary spaces. So 6th grade went to there, which then alleviated some overcrowding and some sizing concerns in the middle school. Now that was before Gladden had been remodeled and worked on. So that's kind of a look back. So far, this kind of came up as Amanda had went to some meetings last year, and they began talking about pre-K earning money differently. Thankfully, we're getting a little more money for pre-K this year, and I'll hit on that in just a little bit. But as part of that, they started talking about pre-K counting in FTE. And when we usually say that, we think of per pupil, like how we earn money for everybody else. But it really was more about the building and the capital outlay side of it. So as we began talking about it, it became clear that moving pre-K was not going to be a matter of if we move it, it was going to be a matter of when. because it didn't make sense to keep it where it was at. And the state could come back and say, all right, you've got them in this older building, we expect it to, you know, be taken care of like the others are. And so, if and when kind of changed our minds, so we started, what can we do? And as we began talking about the pros and cons of pre-K being in the elementary schools and sixth grade being in the middle schools, the pros far outweighed the cons. This started with our district leadership, it went down to our building level administrators who weighed in. We had some sort of conversation with our sixth graders that kind of came up organically. Jenny was down talking about curriculum, and the discussion came up, and so they began sharing some things. I shared and talked to our pre-K folks a few weeks ago as well, and got some of their feedback as we wanted to get some information from them. We also talked with our parent group, our Villa group. I'll share some stuff about them in just a minute. And everybody, we talked about some of the questions about it, which we'll get into, but everybody was supportive, and they thought this, I really do think this is what's best for kids. And so here's the state funding changes that I was just mentioning, and it just talks about how beginning next year those classrooms will count. So we have 13 pre-K classrooms down there, plus 5 special needs resource classrooms, so we have a total of 18 classrooms that kids are in our pre-K center. They will be recognized if they're out in the building for that state funding next year. And as we talked about that, Chris talked with a gentleman from the state last week, and these are ballpark numbers. We'll know more in the summer, but the number he threw out was an additional $280,000 into our capital outlay fund. Now, this is not a check they write us every year. It's essentially an account that builds up. Right now, we have almost $3.8 million in that account. We earn about $1.3 million every year. This will add an additional, $250, $275, $280, somewhere in there to that 1.3 that we'll earn each year. So when we make an application to use that money, there'll be more building up each year. And we're talking about making an application for that money when we do the renovations at Roy County High School. That building will be 40 years old when we're ready to do that, which will allow us to capture more of that money. And so if we're talking 2 or 3 years from now, that's going to net us, $750,000 to $1 million extra that we would not have gotten if we leave it the way it is right now. And that's really, like I said, it's the positive side effect of it. These discussions come up all the time, and when I came last year, I was asking, tell me how this has been. And people, we talk about this every year. It kind of comes up. It's kind of like the calendar. We start on that, but it comes up every year. And so, as it came up, and then this kind of came up with it, that was the spearhead, but it's more of the, more of the positive side effect. The additional impact it will have with pre-K change. Pre-K has not been fully funded by the state. It never has been. So usually every system will put in certain controls to keep down the spending in pre-K because you get a finite amount of money. So over the last 2 years, we've had about an overage of around $200,000. So the state gives us X amount, pre-K count costs Y amount, and we have to make up the difference out of our general fund. So every year there's overage. Over the last 2 years, it's been about that much. Now, this year, revenues are going up. There were some changes at the state level last year. They've given us more money to help pay for our teachers and pay for our parapros. They've given us some more money to cover other aspects of pre-K. So I'm hoping, anticipating, that we may not have that type of overage this year. It may be small, but it won't be like last year's. We don't think. We were talking about that last week. There'll also be some facility savings. With the gym going up at Maury County High School, it was going to require more square footage to our contract with KBS, right? Not KFS, KBS. I get my acronyms mixed up. As we talked to them, we said, if we're closing this building back here, the square footage is pretty much a wash in the sense that the people that are working here from KBS can go over there and work, and we're not having to add to our contract. So if it stays here, we have to add people over here, we would have to add to that contract price that we're paying. So that will be a wash. And with staff savings at pre-K, because pre-K is a separate entity right now, there's some staffing things there that don't have to be if we have it in the schools. Like we have a bookkeeper that helps down there, we have some other folks that help, and the clerks, just like we have at other schools. But we won't have to fund those positions because the bookkeepers at the schools will work for that, and they already have clerks there. So we'll absorb those people into open positions that we have around, but we don't have to rehire those. SRO, I've been talking with Josh about that, whether we need an SRO at all, or if they may use that position as a floating position and as a sub to help cover when Chatsworth, Gladden, or Murray County High School have people in and out. So we're still kind of working out if we're gonna have one, if we need one at all, or if they don't have something part-time, how they work it. For the sixth grade, we will have fewer teachers needed to cover sixth grade next year. But you do have to have, if you throw an extra couple hundred kids into a building, you don't have enough specials classes to take those numbers in. So right now, there are 20 sixth grade teachers. Next year, there will be 17 sixth grade teachers, as of now, based on numbers. So those extra 3 actually works out because we're gonna need 3 specials teachers. We're gonna need 2 at Gladden, and we're gonna need 1 at Bagley. So right now, we've talked about what we're gonna add. It looks like at Bagley and Gladden, both, we may add a PE or a weight training position to get more people down there. And then at Gladden, we'll have to add an extra position. We're kind of working through what we want to do with that. So it doesn't mean that I'm teaching sixth grade and now all of a sudden I have to go teach, Spanish. That's not what it means, but it means that that position is there. So as a sixth grade teacher, I could do seventh, or, whatever I'm able to do. But the positions are 20 and 20, so it's a wash. So I've had people asking, are we having to consolidate? Are we having to cut positions? Are we losing positions? No, it's a straight wash. And also some staff changes. Right now, we have some of our high school and middle school teachers that are traveling. Like I'm working at the high school, especially in fine arts, and I gotta go down to the elementary school and teach a section of band, or I gotta come over to the middle school and teach a section of this. This is going to allow us to kind of simmer that down and get people more stable in a place. And so we're kind of working through that plan right now, but it will definitely allow there not be as much mobility as there is right now. And I know those teachers are excited with that. From student and staff impact, these are kind of our numbers. On the left, you see what we are right now. So you see the totals down at the bottom of the schools. On the right is what we would look like next year if those numbers roll up. So like you see Bagley and Gladden go from 458 and 471 to 651 and 747. So there'll be about, you'll be about 100 student difference than what there is right now as far as between the 2 middle schools. That's why Gladden needed an extra special than Bagley had because of the numbers. You can see the sixth grade teachers on the left. If you add those pink numbers across, that gets your 20. On the right side, you see 8 and 9 as they're allotted now. That gets your 17. The other 3 are those specials. Specials are not showing on here. So you'll also see what it does to the populations at the elementary schools as it drops those down. Now that is not adding pre-K into those because there's some things we got to work out with pre-K. Pre-K classrooms are 20 each, 18 to 20 each. So if every school gets a couple of those, you're talking 40 kids. You've got special needs classes. You can throw in another 10. We're working on how that's going to be organized. Right?
So really, we're getting more students at GMS than Goliath or Bagley.
Yes.
But less room though, right?
Bagley does have more room. Bagley was designed that way. So one of the things as we talked about this Bagley we weren't concerned about the space. It was Gladden. And so it hinged to make sure that we had enough space at Gladden. Now Gladden had been remodeled since all this stuff happened before. They have several empty classrooms over there right now. So as we talked to Jennifer and the rest of the folks over at Gladden, we looked at their maps, we walked their halls. They've got some rooms where we use it one period, we don't use it the rest of the day. And so right now, we're kind of designing what it's going to look like over there as far as where those students will be housed. We want them in one kind of hallway to themselves. What we said is, we've got 9 classrooms up here. We want you to find 10 rooms so that we know we've got enough going ahead, in years. But the numbers are pretty steady coming after this. There's one anomaly year in a couple of years, and so we'll see how that shakes out. But Bagley's very easy. Originally, we had talked about, hey, we may just put them on the 2 halls we have, but we said, no, we're going to do it, let's do it the way it should be. So 6th grade wing is going to be opened back up. Chris and his folks, if you guys approve, they're going to go over and take care of some sprucing up in that place, make the right colors, and do a little fixaroo over there. Mountain Ed is currently in 6th grade over there. We talked to Mountain Ed last week, should this change take place, they are excited about moving over to the ELC. They're gonna go in the new wing, back there in the back, they like that space, they like being away from the school over there, because Greg will tell you, high school kids coming in at, 3:30 and, yeah. So, he's like an old man yelling at clouds, they're out there playing their loud music and Greg can't take it. So, they are excited about coming down here. They like this space, they like being able to be away from the other stuff, not having to be a part of somebody else. So, we're in good shape there.
The Mountain View, do they pay us for like the use of the building and stuff? They do everything?
They used to. State law changed last year to where they don't have to pay us for their usage of the building anymore.
So they pay for utilities and stuff, since they're gonna be in a building by themselves?
They do not, what they do pay for is they pay for they pay for all their equipment, they pay for all their stuff. They pay for their cleaning, like they do that. But like the utilities, they don't pay, there used to be a rental fee, but that stopped this year. So, we discussed that when they came last week, just to make sure they were.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the questions was, back when I saw the room, but Glenn is already a top tier, will they have room, but
they did.
Like you said, you guys have room, so.
We have 5 rooms that are totally unused right now, and one that's being used for one period, so we'll be in good shape. We've already been spilling and scheming, we'll be in good shape.
You were that the numbers. So the elementary schools are under 450, and not long ago, we redrew the lines because state funded would not fund for assistant principals, library.
It's a little bit of a misnomer. It doesn't look at the individual school. It doesn't say, hey, Woodline's gonna be at 370, Northwest is gonna be 4, you're under that 450 number. Because it doesn't know where their school at. Every kid earns a little bit of money toward that, and so every 450th kid earns you a position.
System.
Right. So you take the totality.
Average amount, it's.
Yeah.
What is the number when you average amount?
We'll be good. We'll be good.
No.
And here's the thing right now, we're not, if we think about that, we don't have enough for our middle school, because middle school is like 620. So we're under, with our middle schools right now, but from an average standpoint, we're gonna be fine. It's not gonna change the amount of money we're getting from anybody, because you added up total. It just kind of shakes it up in a different pile.
So, you mentioned SRO a while ago. What is, if an SRO's out sick or out for any reason, how's their job feel at the end for the day?
I think
Does the county and city send one?
County does, city, and they kind of work.
So we're not doing that in SRO because somebody's sick? And never?
Never.
Good.
We're good. What we said with the pre-K one, we gotta figure out if they wanted to have an extra at the high school or to go between Murray and Gladden a little more often, or if they wanna use them as kind of their permanent sub, what they wanna do. So we gotta still kind of work that out. The payment for the SRO comes out of, it comes out of our general fund, but it doesn't. It comes out of our safety grant. So we're not on the hook for that. But if we didn't have one, or we paid it less because they were part-time, that's one money we use safety grant stuff for. So that's, we gotta work out with Josh, since it's on the south end, or in the city, excuse me. As far as benefits, as we went through this and talked about pros and cons and discussing all this with everybody felt like it would be better for our students academically, and it had a lot to do with our teachers. Anybody that works with our teachers at the elementary level can tell you, sometimes our 6th grade teachers feel like they're on an island. Everything is K-5, because elementary is K-5. And so sometimes they are kind of left with their small team. We try to get them together and collaborate, but it's tough. And so they felt like, as Jenny talked to the teachers, they were excited about the opportunity to be together in one building, to be able to collaborate and work together and plan together. Because even if I do have 3 or 4 teachers in 6th grade, I'm the only math teacher that's teaching 6th grade. I don't have another math teacher that I can work with or plan with. So we feel like if we can support those teachers better, we can support our students better. It does open new opportunities. There's a lot more electives and things at the middle school that they have, the elementary schools do not have. And so the kids will have more choice and get their eyes open to some different things earlier. It's also a better opportunity to build relationships. both Greg and, Jennifer have both said, by the time I get them in the door, they're going out the door, it's kind of hard to do that. One thing we're blessed with is we've got 2 middle school principals that have come from elementary background. And we've not had 2 bigger cheerleaders about this than the 2 of them. And even Daphne before, Jennifer last year, when it came up last year. So I've been super excited with them, and really, it's more kids for them. It's more, it's going to be more work in a lot of ways, but they're both excited about it. And so I was glad to hear that from them. Extracurricular activities will be more accessible. 6th grade can participate in pretty much anything at the middle school except for football. Currently, who knows, they change that stuff every few years. So we have kids that come up and play. They gave me some numbers last week, 20 here, 25 here. But for some kids, it's a barrier because they don't have a ride. They can't get there. They don't have somebody that can take them. So any of the fine arts, band, I'm excited for our band programs because I think this is the way to get more people in it. We've been trying to grow our programs. I think this is a great way to do it because not only will they get to be in the band at the middle school, they'll get instruction at the middle school in that band program there. And then, of course, athletics and clubs and some different things that go on. It does align better with our system procedures. Discipline handbook and some PBIS things fit 6th grade differently than they fit 5th grade. So it will help with that. And it's better for enrollment. I never really even thought about this, but if I'm a 6th grade kid at North Whitfield and my parents moved to Murray County, I roll down to see Tara Robinette at the enrollment center and she says, hey, guess what? You're going to be in Eton Elementary after you've been at North Whitfield. Or if I'm, at Spring Place Elementary in 6th grade and I get sent to, Dalton or I get somewhere else, I'm going to a middle school in the middle of the year. So this kind of aligns us there. And also I did put this up here, data. When you look at CCRPI and you look at data collection, there is Spring Place Elementary and there is Spring Place Middle School. There is Woodlawn Middle School because 6th grade by the state is considered middle school. So there's sometimes I get data with those CCRPI. I don't know if they calculated the 6th grade in or not. I don't know where they put them. If I look at Bagley, am I just seeing 7th and 8th and 6th grades getting left out? It's kind of wonky that way. So it puts us in line with everybody, for the most part, surrounding us and in the state. For pre-K, same thing with them, new opportunities. They'll get to have specials classes. They're going to go to music. They're going to go to PE. They're going to travel just like kindergarten or 1st grade or anybody else will that they don't have. It also gives our teachers an opportunity to have a planning period. Our pre-K teachers currently down here, because there are no specials classes, they do not have a true plan in the day. So this will be good for them as well. They also get to build those relationships. I had a pre-K in my building all the years I was an assistant principal and all the years I was a principal. We got to know those parents. They got to know our routines. And when kindergarten came, buddy, we hit the ground running. It wasn't a matter of having to retrain and reteach. There wasn't that transition. You could tell the kids that were in our pre-K from the year before versus the kids that came from a daycare or that came from home. And so it was exciting to have them in the building a year earlier. They'll have access to better facilities. Our elementary school is better equipped than our building down here. This has been a great solution for what we've needed. We've been able to retrofit it and do some things to it, but our elementary schools are better equipped for them. It does offer improved teacher support. Amanda right now is our pre-K director, site director, I think is the term for it.
I'm the site director and the project.
And the project.
Yeah.
And that's because she's doing the day-to-day. So Amanda really acts like a principal at the pre-K, and then she has the other stuff that goes along with being a pre-K site director, which is a lot of backside work, training, paperwork out the wazoo. Every teacher has notebooks. Every child has work samples. All this has to be managed. Somebody's got to make sure that it's getting done. Amanda does that. Meanwhile, Amanda's, dealing with a disciplined student or a parent or a situation. So she'll be freed up to really dig into what she is trained to do, from her standpoint. And then she'll be able to kind of see this year, all right, what does that look like for me? I'm going to be out in the buildings. She'll have an office here, but she'll be out in the buildings doing stuff. She'll be there to support our principals to help them as they try to understand what pre-K looks like in elementary school. I told them I can do that. I've had that in my building. I can share knowledge with you. And so we can support them to be able to get used to that a bit. Because it's like another classroom in the building, but there are some differences from the state level with it. But it'll be positive. And lastly, drop off and pick up. recently changed our drop-off procedures, and it seems to be going well over here.
It's getting better.
It's getting better. Pickup, though, it's still a little too unsafe because we got too many people coming at one time to have a true pickup line like we have anywhere else, so parents are having to park, come inside. So as we get ready for the monsoons this week, just be thinking about that for our pre-K parents as they do that. But they'll be a part of the drop-off and pickup like everybody else. They'll go through the line, they'll take care of it. We don't have a space over here for them to kind of pull over and, because we don't buckle their kids in to a car seat or a booster seat. And so over here, there's no place for them to go. And like by the time you get people back there buckling kids in, if they can't do it themselves, it creates havoc,
I would
mess.
say they probably need to really focus on improving some drop-off and pickup lines at the elementaries once that happens, because it's gonna really,
Oh, it'll add some traffic.
it'll add traffic, and then the little kids getting out is a little bit more different. Like,
It
you know,
is.
It's a little different, so they're gonna have help getting out of those cars.
It will, and but they're used to it at those elementary schools. They've kind of had it locked down. Even there, they have places to pull up and kind of do their,
Yeah.
get myself strapped in. So it'll simplify that for those parents. Some challenges. The number one the challenge we talked about is just anxiety due to change, and really sudden change. And when I'm talking about sudden change for our fifth grade, really, they didn't come into this year expecting this to be their last year of fifth grade. This was also our COVID class from kindergarten. They went home on March 13th. So they've had a lot of things that have affected them. And we spent a lot of time talking about that. What does that look like? Is it worth waiting a year? You know, to let things kind of settle and let those kids get on. And the more we talked about it, it was, if we think this is what's best for kids, and we think this is what's best for kids, and that's why I'm making this recommendation now. And really, a big part of that was, like I said, Greg and Jennifer have been wonderful about their acceptance. Hey, what can we do? You know, what can we do? And our elementary principals, as we've talked to them, what can we do to make, if this is approved, what can we do to make the rest of the year special for our fifth grade? You know, sixth grade has some special things coming up. You know, we'll do those things for fifth grade. You know, we can, you know, Millie and I were talking last week about some different things, and every school has unique things they do with their sixth grade, and so we can filter that down to fifth grade. We'll have an orientation. We want to have one just for fifth grade to go up to middle school. They don't have to go with sixth grade and be kind of piled in. Let them go up and have a separate. We want to have some parent meetings, probably at the middle school, so they can come down and see the buildings. They can meet with us, see Greg and Jennifer, and have a chance to get comfortable. And what I told some parents that have asked me, and have shared that anxiety, some employee parents that we've talked about, we said, we've got time to really do it to our job is to make you feel better about what this recommendation is and what we're gonna do. And we'll do everything we can. Now, I wish everybody would be happy with it, and I'm sure there'll be some that are not. But I do feel like from the people that have come up to me and talked to me, I've heard a whole lot more, finally, yes, I've been waiting on this, than I have, oh, please no. There have been some. Teacher moves, we're working on that right now. The mindset is sixth grade teachers are gonna be sixth grade teachers, unless they wanna transfer out and do something else, just like we would with anybody else. And then we're kind of getting that specials plan together. Pre-K teachers, we talked to them and we said, we want to give you some input on places where, you know, you might want to go for certain reasons. And we want to give our elementary principals some input on the pre-K folks, who they, you know, people they've worked with, whatnot before. And then ultimately, once we kind of get some feedback from them, we'll kind of plot out who goes where, and then we'll be able to see how many classes are in each place, that kind of thing. Facilities move, maintenance is going to be a big help with this. Chris has been with us step for step as we've gone through this. We're going to come up with a plan, and basically it's this room is moving to this room, and this room is moving to this room. We'll have it laid out, so when it's time to execute, there's a blueprint, and we do it. We'll do some things maybe at the end, after testing last week of the school year. We've got some kids can help us do some stuff internally. But Chris and his folks will be spearheading that probably in June and summertime as we kind of get into that. A couple other things there, increased traffic, we mentioned that. We're really going to have to kind of watch and see. The one thing we know is that a lot of our pre-K parents are already going through the line. They're just not dropping off the pre-K kids. So that won't be, you know, 280 brand new cars that are going down there. But we really would just have to kind of wait and see. And we got a couple hot spots. Bagley Woodlawn is always an interesting spot. Gladden can get a little interesting over here. I'm sure Pam and Greg will be directing traffic in their orange vests, and they'll have it on lockdown out on 225. Pre-K aftercare, currently we have about 10 to 20 students that stay in aftercare. There are no aftercares at the elementary school. Boys and Girls Club picks up there, and they do aftercare for them. Amanda talked to Boys and Girls Club last week, and they said, you know, they are possibly looking at making some changes there where they could add some 4-year-old slots.
So there would be after-school care.
Currently, there's not. Boys and Girls Club may see this as an opportunity to gain some more kids, and so we're hoping they'll take advantage of that. Our summer program could still go on. We could actually still do that down here at the ELC building. We'll have classrooms and some things down there, so we can still do that. Scheduling at the middle school, Dr. Lott's been working with them to kind of look at how it works when you add, you know, another grade level into the schedule. I think we're in a good place there, looking ahead to next year, so I'm excited about that. I think it opens up some possibilities for us there to do some cool things. So next steps, if you approve this, we'll start communicating. We'll send out an email to our staff here at Monroe County Schools and let them be aware of what's going to happen. We've got a message that we would have ready to share out with parents probably tomorrow or the next day. We'll send out probably more like through Remind and kind of those back channels. It's not something we've been doing social media. That's why I did a letter instead of doing a Facebook post. You know, I'd rather get it out directly to people so I know they get a chance to see it. We'll finalize those teacher allotments. Once we get transfers figured out, then we get inside of schools figured out, then we'll know exactly how many people we need to hire for next year. And so we want to get the transfers figured out, which will help with that. And then we'll finalize that movement plan with maintenance so that we know we've got a blueprint for exactly where everybody is going to go. And we'll be doing that over the next 4 to 6 weeks so that hopefully by the end of March I can give something to Chris and say, here's the plan for what we're going to do when it's time to do it. In the meantime, Chris and his folks are going to be working over at Bagley to get us back up to Bagley Blazer over there. And so that's it. So you guys have any questions?
I have just one. The pre-K and kindergarten registration, will that happen at the elementary schools that they're going to?
Kindergarten registration will run like it normally, like it typically does. Pre-K registration we'll probably still do down here. It's nice to have it in one central place for that.
How are they going to know where you would tell them which school they'll be at?
Our plan for that is first we got to figure exactly how many which classrooms are going to have where. So I know that Woodlawn has, 36 slots and Spring Place may have, 40 slots or whatever it is. The plans we have right now are if you were to come register your 4-year-old, we want you to go to your home school. So you live in the Northwest District. Northwest is your home school. What we may then say is, all right, if Northwest fills up and we get this going, what would be your second choice, Woodlawn or Eton in that theater pattern? Where would you be willing to take your child? Since transportation is going to be self-transportation anyway, you'll have to do it. And so then once we start filling these up, our current board policy says first come, first served. It's easy right now when you've got 280 slots because on registration day, 150, 175 people come, there's plenty of open slots. If 150 or 175 people come to this, it could be fine. But it could be that now at Northwest, I've only got 40, and 43 people came. And so I've got 3 people on the waiting list. Whereas Woodlawn may not fill up. And so we could talk to those people, hey, we've got a spot at Woodlawn if you want a guaranteed spot. Or you can stay on the waiting list at Northwest, and you may eventually get in. What's our waiting list right now, Amanda?
I still have 15 to 20.
What we start the year at?
Over 20, 40, 45.
So every year we run through, kids have to leave, kids move, whatever. So there are some folks that be like, you know what, I want to be at Northwest, I want to stay on the waiting list. Or, hey, I want that spot at Woodlawn, I want that pre-K spot. So,
Okay, so they go and they're really in district for Northwest, but they have to go to Woodlawn when it's kindergarten, or they will be have to go back to their home school, back to Northwest.
that's going to be a question we'll be talking about.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or do they stay at that school? Because, I mean, you take a kid that's on the waiting list and they go to Econ, and then they say, oh, well, now you gotta go to Northwest for kindergarten.
That's going to be a question.
That's going to be some concerns right there for parents.
It's going to be a question that the board will have to address based on our current board policy. Current board policy is you go where you're zoned.
Yeah.
So if I end up taking that spot at Woodlawn and I want to stay at Woodlawn, you know, as a board, you guys can decide to amend the policy that allows some flexibility within the elementary schools if you want to. So that's a discussion we'll have coming forward. We're hoping that as that registration opens, you know, we'll have to see how balanced it is. It's hard to say. Right now, I think Spring Place had 48 kids that are for them down here. Coker had 45, Chatsworth had 43, Woodlawn had 26, Northwest had 35, and I'm missing somebody. Eton had
44. Did you say 44?
40, somewhere 44. So like, they were all kind of right over that little threshold of 40 if we're thinking about kind of classes where it would be. But every year's a little different. You know, we never know who's going to come to register. So those are some things. Registration usually takes place in March. So those are some things behind the scenes we're going to work on. And I'll be presenting some options to you guys as to see what you want to do. And, you know, we can make it look how we want to there.
How many did you say was in aftercare at Freetown?
I mean, 10 to 20, but on average, about 12 stay. Yeah, so it's not.
It's weird because some may stay on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Right,
Some say Tuesday and it varies.
And Boys and Girls Club told me that once they heard the rumor of we might do the switch, they started talking about possibly changing that policy to where pre-K could go to Boys and Girls Club.
Well, and how would they get them there? Do they have a bus to strap them in?
They do have a bus where
Oh,
they
they
pick
do?
up at the elementary.
They got some different vehicles they
Yes.
use.
And then
And
also,
maybe too.
like, do they have capacity? Because this year, I was gonna get Wayland Creek and
Mhm.
Boys and Girls, and they had no capacity. They'd reached their limit, so that would be another thing to ask them, are they gonna add capacity?
Mhm.
You know, like maybe add a couple of workers or something.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah.
I just have one thing that I'd like for you to go back and talk about, maybe to your principals, is this pre-K transportation. I guess I forgot that we weren't doing that, and that just blows my mind. Every school system around here hauls a pre-K kid. And it may be, we don't have seatbelts, and no, I mean, I didn't put my kid on a bus at 4 years old, but I work in a world where I deal with a lot of poor people, and that's the only way they can get their kids to school, and it just bothers me that we're a public school system telling somebody that they can't put their pre-K kid on a bus. Would that raise our numbers? Maybe. You may not have anybody, but I just think that needs to be looked at, especially when everybody around us is doing it. And I don't know the rules, like I said, I don't know the rules, and that we were doing it before, so it's not something that I guess the state comes in and says you're gonna be fined if you put this kid on it. But I just have a problem with that we are a public school system and we're not offering transportation for everybody. And if we're gonna start getting more money for these kids, being in the in a regular school system, that might be a way to get more kids in pre-K. But I would just hate to know if I had a fifth grader that I was dropping off, that could ride the bus, but my pre-Ker that was starting school this year couldn't ride the bus. I don't know, I think that's just wrong altogether. So I just would, if you wanna get with your team, your principals, and see what their opinions may not be like mine. But I think it's something that it definitely needs to be looked into before we say that transportation's not available for pre-Kers.
Or who would
Has
make
the
the
rules
decision?
changed, Randall?
I'm sorry.
Because when used to, not that many years ago, they rode with us. Have the rules changed?
No, it never has changed,
Then
It's
why did they
always-
get to ride before?
because they chose not to follow the rules.
So,
I didn't set the rules, that's set by TSA and it's set by the NHTSA. I mean, do any of y'all put a child, your grandchildren or your children in a car without a car seat? Do y'all do that? See, here's the thing is none of the equipment at Murray County Schools was ever built that seatbelt ready. You can't go back and retrofit the buses that we have for that. Our special needs buses, they all have seatbelts. They're all seatbelt ready. Andrew and I, we put the 5-point and 3-point harnesses in them, which does away with the car seats. So we only have a limited amount of buses that we can do that and abide by the laws. It does that. Now, if you guys want to operate outside the laws, that's something you can choose to do. and ignore
I
that.
would like for you to see if we can find how much it would cost to put those seatbelt
said
Well,
they're not,
you-
they're
you
not
can't
retrofitted for you.
retrofit.
Can't, there's no way.
No.
The only buses that we have that you can put seat belts in, that's not in there now, are special needs buses. Because the floor structure doesn't support the seat belts if you try to install them on them. It just doesn't work that way. They have to be built structurally to handle that. So when I came here, that was one of the things that I noticed, that, you know, I'm not the one ultimately decided that. I just brought the law out and set it right in front of me.
Yeah.
So there's standards for that we have to abide by. And if you're gonna put seat belts in them, they're very specific on how the buses have to be built and what things to do. Our special needs buses, the seat belt fitting in that is about $12,000 per bus. So you could double that amount for a 72 passenger bus. But we don't have any buses that can do that. We would have to buy new buses to do that. See, our transportation department is far and again worse than what you actually think that it is. I mean, we bought a lot of new buses, but we're still far away from where we need to be. I think when I first got here, we were looking at about 65 buses that are on a truncated timeline, and that really hasn't changed that much. Because every year that you don't replace your school bus fleet, that can just keep getting kicked further and further down. So, but anyway, I mean, you're welcome to come and look at the buses that we have that are seatbelt ready, and then look at the buses that we bought that are not seatbelt ready. And it doesn't take but a split second to see that that works. But the law is very specific. Compartmentalization only exists K through 12. Now, you can lobby legislators and change the law to go back and accept pre-K kids, but I don't see anybody that's on board with that at the moment. But up until then, we have rules to follow. Do I like them? Not necessarily. I'm not a bad guy. I want all these kids to go to school and have plenty of opportunities for that. But we put all those children at risk when we do that because they're not safe on our bus. And I just don't believe hauling children when it's not safe. I want the same things that you guys do.
No,
But-
yeah, we understand.
But we just don't have it. And right this moment, the amount of children that you would have if you bust, if you went back and put them on the routes, I mean, we would have to buy, I don't know, probably 70 buses to retrofit them. Couldn't do it. So if we run pre-K shuttles, I think I'm running 6. But we would have to buy 6 buses. So, I mean, it's a pretty sizable investment to do that, being as the whole transportation fleet, its focus is not around pre-K children, it revolves around K through 12. It's far and again a goal that we can achieve to get our fleet back where it needs to be if we stay the course. But if we try to put seatbelts on, that's a path that's going to be pretty expensive and difficult, because you got to do regular 72 passenger and pre-K children. So.
Well, it sounds like that's not even an option.
Oh, it's definitely an option. It's
Well,
just,
it's.
I mean, it's a financial
yeah,
obligation that you're gonna have to stick out there to do that, so.
Yeah, we don't have the means to do that. But well, they're actually bringing them now. I mean, they're taking them to 2 schools. I guess if they're having to go to 1 school, you know, you wouldn't put a 5th grader on the school bus and carry your pre-K-er, so you just carry them both.
Well, I would say, I have similar concerns, same as you guys do, when you put all the cars back at the elementary schools. I would tell you there's a couple schools that are particularly issues for us now, and we don't have the pre-K traffic there, and that's Coker and Spring Place Elementary. The road down there, it's pretty dicey to take a school bus out of Spring Place Elementary if you're turning left or if you're turning right. People just don't slow